Thank you so much for being here, Frank. Thank you for the presentation. It's really nice that you talk about models, data sets, techniques, and now I'm gonna talk about how you can integrate models, data set, and techniques directly in FiftyOne. I think it's a perfect match. Yeah, I would like to start with some numbers because what we are gonna talk about this 25 minutes is going to be how you can increase the visibility of your research using FiftyOne. And we are going to explore some examples. We are going to explore how to get started, how to create a model, how to create a data set, how to create the plugins, and how we can put this in the open source library 51. I would love to start with numbers because the amount of papers that has been, like the number are increasing super fast. Just in 2024, we have more than 58 new AI papers. And I am not saying that they are AI generated. I am just saying that AI or LLMs in general, it's allow us to make faster research, as well increase the quality of the research, because it can automate some steps and that create more research, more people contributing. But in the same time, in the other side, it's harder to go to big conference like NeoRIPS, like CVPR, like all of these kind of big research conference. The rejection ratio is high, and we spend time. At the end, researchers spend time trying to put all the effort and all the technology to be able to contribute to the work, and we need to make this more accessible to everyone. And with FiftyOne, we can do that. And this is just two examples, but we are going to explore more. The first one is on the right. It's a concept embedding. The name is sparse linear concept embedding. And I like this example because combine a model, but in the same time, I'm going to show this later. It has a panel that allow you to read and to see graph and to see numbers and to get some information about what the model is doing. This one is nice because it's do a consent decomposition. That what it means is it takes your image and create what are the components more relevant in the image, and then assign a score to that, and then you can correlate that to your actually labels, and you can validate if your label maybe has some bias or some issues. And I think it's pretty nice to see that in production. And on the left is a dataset pruning technique that help you to improve the quality of your dataset. Two examples, very quick, to show you how you can integrate your paper, your research, and your technology into FiftyOne. Okay, I am Adonai. I am a machine learning working in the DevRel team. And Jimmy already mentioned this, but just to go in more detail, what is FiftyOne? Thinking the pipeline that you are going to do to create a computer vision model, there are some stage that is dataset import, ingest, like all of the ingestion, labeling, find bias, evaluate model. All of this pipeline that you have to do when you are going to develop a product, you can do it directly in FiftyOne. All of these processes are inside FiftyOne. You can retrain the model, and you can reevaluate as well, and you can start to benchmark how your model is working on production. One of the most important thing for us is like, we believe that data-centric AI, like put your data as the center of everything, it's key. Like if you put that, the quality of your models are gonna be better. You are gonna have better results in the ablation studies. And that's why we create this FiftyOne library. And we support multiple tasks. We support like classification, detection, object detection, 3D objects, like image, video. We don't have too much in audio, but we have some plugins in audio that I think is nice. Point clouds, and that's one of the most amazing things. The extensibility that FiftyOne provide allow you to integrate your own research, your own technique, your own startup. You can create an integration with FiftyOne and actually put all your products in the ecosystem. And community, you are here right now. You are part of the community. Like community is growing super fast. We have more than 22. I think we have more right now. Computer vision members around the world. People like you that come here to the conference, that present algorithms, that go to physical events, and the community is growing super fast. That is why I think it's nice to be able to put your research here and show to the world what you are building. Okay, let's start with the plugin ecosystem. And what is the plugin ecosystem? And just think like FiftyOne create an infrastructure that is flexible and allow you to, thanks to some functions, integrate your model, your dataset, or your techniques directly here. And I'm gonna tell you first about all the plugins that we have right now, because we have more than hundreds of plugins. We have concept interpolation, we have integration with PySeract if you work with OCRs, we have integration with YouTube panels, we have last models like Queen, like Gemini Vision, and more. And everything can be running directly in our environment with just one line that I'm gonna show you later. If is there any question, I'm gonna be more than happy to answer in the QA. Just ask, and I'm gonna be ready to answer them. Okay, let me show you more examples before going to the hand experience of create actually a plugin. In the left, Queen 3 VL, more like video, models focus on video. We have Moon Dream 3. This is like open source models, but we have as well closed models. The last Gemini, the last Nano Banana, and the last Gemini model that has been released, I think was this week or last week. You can integrate it here, and you can do interesting things like edit an image. Or, for example, you can create an image that is not in your data set, like create an image of New York at night, and the model is gonna execute the request to the API. It's going to get the image, and it's gonna show you the image in your data set. And why this is nice? Because if you can see here, we start to have like a kind of ablation platform where you can see multiple models. You can add your model, and then you can compare your model, other data sets or new data sets, and have everything in just one place. We have more. We have Janus Pro BQA. We have MedGemma. Like all of this is going to be available, and we are going to share the links if this is one that is interesting for you, but more custom model for a specific domain. It's part of what we have here. Let's check if there is something in the chat. If you can ask the question in the QA, it's going to be easier for me to read it at the end. Cool. Let me go to the most exciting part. That is, okay, all of this is nice, but actually, how can I create this? And to download the plugin, not create it, you have one line. Just one line, you are going to download the model to your ecosystem, and then you can start to use the model. But let's explore how to create these projects. And here I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes, and I'm going to split it in 3 parts. The first one is going to be how you can create a remote model to be able to do inference in FiftyOne. The second one is going to be with your data set. You create your data set, you want that, make it available. Maybe you have this in Hugging Face, but you need to make a portion of the data set visible for people that can use it, like a specific portion of the full data set, maybe just 20% of the data set, or you want to put it in a place that the people can download with one click. And the last one is going to be plugins. We are going to explore what is the idea of plugins, that actually the models and the data set go into this world, but we have the world of the plugin that is how can I create an operator that executes something, or how can I create a panel in my environment. Let's start with model integration. You create your model, you spend time, you do all the training, but now you have to do inference, and if you want to put it in FiftyOne, you have to define, the first thing is going to be define a manifest file. The manifest file contains all the metadata that your system has, including license, names, maybe you have a specific classes, like descriptions, what the model do. It's more like generic description of what is happening with this model. And this is one of the mandatory files that we have to have. The license is very important. Sometimes you have a model, but you cannot use it, or you have to use it with some restrictions. You are going to define all of these things here in the manifest file. Then we have 4 functions, only 4 functions to create the structure. And there is one that is going to be more complex that I'm going to go in more detail, but there is only 4 functions that you have to move to your code to these kind of blocks to be able to do the inference in FiftyOne. First one, download model. Very simple. The name say everything. You have to put all the things that you have that you needed for run the model. If you need a JSON file, if you need labels, if you need the weights of the model, if you need all of this configuration has to be here in download the model. Every time when you go to 51 and you're gonna download the model using the traditional method, it's going to trigger this function and it's gonna run all the steps that you have here to have all the elements in the local to be able to run it. I remember that 51, the open source side running local, everything that you are running is gonna be in your computer directly. The second function for the people that want to integrate the model to 51, it's the load model. And here I'm gonna just explain in general, but I'm gonna go in the next slide in more details about what is this. But the idea here is that you're gonna load the model instance that is gonna be able to run the prediction, all the steps that you need to do, depends of your model, of course, is gonna be here, but you're gonna load it as a model instance. And this model instance class that I'm gonna explain in the next slide is gonna have all the function that you need to be able to do prediction and everything. And we have two more that are more important, and is resolve input and parse parameters. Resolve input, thinking in like what my model need as an input of a user that I need to ask the user. And you put it here. Like if you need to define a specific classes, like your model need to define which class do you want to make prediction, or one of the input of your model is the classes, you can add it here. This is result input, very simple. And parse parameters, just think like, okay, my model gets some, let's say some variables, but now I need to use or do something with this variable to be able to put it to my model. Let's say that you have the variable classes, and you ask the user to say which classes do they want to detect, and the user write it as a string. Here in the parse parameters, you can convert that string in, I don't know, maybe an array, and then send it to the model to be able to perform the inference. It's like this kind of pre-processing of input variable that you have to do when you are gonna do the inference. Model integration, 4 functions, 1 manifest. But we have one pending, that is load model. Load model is your custom model. And we know that sometimes maybe you are using PyTorch, maybe you are using TensorFlow or another deep learning framework, or maybe you are creating your own deep learning framework or your own infrastructure without use deep learning frameworks. You can integrate it here. But the model or the instance of the model has to have some methods, like the predict or predict all, that allow you to make a prediction of an image or make a prediction of the full or multiple images. We have some variables to like config information and more. And we have attributes that are very important. If your model maybe is using embeddings, you have to define that, because we are going to do a special pre-processing in the back. If your model needs to do some pre-process or transform some data, you have to define that directly here in the model integration. But it's very simple, and we have multiple templates that are going to help you to do that. And just to summarize, model integration, manifest, the init file with 4 functions. If your model use a traditional technique like, I don't know, PyTorch as a framework, you can use one of the predefined one that we have, or if you want to create one, we are 100% extensible. You can as well configure it and send it directly to the model. Okay, there are questions. I love the question. I'm gonna answer at the end just to keep with the conversation. Let's talk about an example. This is one of my favorite examples because it's a model that the output is not like the traditional one that is like what is it, like a class or maybe a number. Like it's like you can have as an output the map, the spatial feature maps, and we can do that as well. We can integrate this kind of model and allow you to visualize everything in 51. And that is interesting. You can, if the model maybe create embeddings of each of the samples, you can see the embeddings and you can compute similarity between embeddings, and you can actually start to find bias in 51. This is a model that was, this is an integration because the model is from NVIDIA, but this integration was created by Harpreet, and it's an example of how you can integrate a model that has like a different structure in 51. Okay, we talk about models. If you like, we are gonna send all of these videos. If you want to create models, this is the best place. The previous one. But now let's talk about datasets. And in datasets, I can go really deep about how to do it. But I'm gonna try to make the big picture. And if you have a dataset, more than happy to explore and to help you to integrate it. But datasets at the end are files with some specific configurations. We always define a 51 YAML file that contains the description of the dataset, number of samples in training, test, if you want to split it in training or test or validation, like all the metadata similar to the previous one, to the manifest in the models. And the init function has two main functions, download and prepare. I think the name saying everything. If you have your dataset maybe in Google Drive or in Kaggle or in Hugging Face, you are going to download this dataset to have directly in local and then load the dataset. That is depends. Here I can put more information, but it depends what you are building. You are going to define what label do you have. If you are creating an object detection model, you have to add the bounding box, you have to add the labels and all of these things. You are going to do this pre-processing here in the load data set. But if you are working with images, as an example, sorry, with videos, as an example, you can as well load the labels of the videos, or if it's a temporal action detection, you can load that information as well here in the load data set. Something that I feel is super nice. Sometimes you create a data set that contains, I don't know, 500 gigabytes. It's big. And then the people want to try, but not everyone has this size of like space in the computer. We support a partial download that allow you to create download a small portion of the data set and be able to just get like 10% of the data set to make that people that are gonna use your data set can actually go and only use that amount and can run it faster, can validate the structure. You can configure that when you do the remote data set configuration. Perfect. Very simple because I want to have the big picture and because of time as well, but we can go in more detail. 51 support multiple kind of labels, multiple kind of format and input images. That is pretty nice. An example, I help with this one, and actually I really like what they did in this paper. If you want to explore it, we are gonna share all the results at the end. Why I like it? Because it's a multimodal data set. It is a exocentric operation room data set. Contains like this kind of fish eyes images, but as well contain image of the room itself. And very interesting, contains as well the point cloud of the scene. Like it's a very complete data set. Sometimes I feel that you can use what is on internet, like this kind of papers that are really good to test some of your algorithm instead of creating from zero. This is one example, pretty nice, and it contains other things that is gonna go if we go like this slide. We have the load data set. We can load as well key points. As you can see here, they have key points in their hands because this like you can use this as an input, but you have as well where the person that is doing the operation is looking, like this kind of eyes. I don't remember exactly the name, but it's like something like you can have a point where the person that is doing the operation it's seeing, and it's interesting. It's multiple data, just one place. Cool. This is data set. So far, we explore that it's super nice to integrate model and research because we have a really like multiple people is using 51 and you can make it accessible to everyone. It's going to be easier to discover. We saw some examples. We explain how to work with models and how to create like a basic of the models and how you can integrate a basic of the data set. But one of the most powerful things that we have here is the structure, that's something that is operators. An operator, just thinking like a custom or small, it doesn't have to be small, but a portion of code that you can grab. And actually we have a structure. You can put what you want to do directly here, and you can run directly this in 51 as you launch a Python script. Like this is going to be like a function that can do multiple tasks. Not only models or data set, can do like, I don't know, a pruning, can do like a search, a video search, like can do any task, and it's very modular. It's not only Python. I am a fan of Python, but you can do in JavaScript as well. and it can run as a delegate job. That means that you can run it asynchronous or synchronous, and it can execute multiple things. And this is going to be like the smaller component that we are going to have. This kind of operators is going to be able to extend what you can do with 51. And we have the other one that is like the Java's, the custom panels option. And in this side, just see like you do the inference, but you want to show some, let's say, ablation studies. Like you test, you do the inference of multiple models, you have the models, and then you want to like get the values of these models and then put it in a graph and then show this in your paper. You can create a panel that get the results from the operator, save it in a specific format, and then display this in a panel where then you can, I don't know, have a button that say export LaTeX format and then put it in your paper in Overleaf or in any format that you are creating research. It's a pretty interesting way to actually to make it more visual and more like, yeah, add more visual to your system. And I'm gonna take 30 seconds here because it's very important, this part. The anatomy of a plugin. We have the structure that I mentioned before of operators and panels. You can combine all of these things. You can have operators in Python. You can have operators in JavaScript. But what we recommend, that I think is a really strong approach, it's use the idea of hybrid panels. And this is more like a change of a structure. It's a pattern that you can follow, where you define the Python part, the panel using Python, and the components, like this thing that make flexible your platform, like click here and then this is going to happen, and all of these kind of tasks, you can do it with JavaScript. And the operators, you can run it in wherever you prefer. I really like Python. It's very simple to use, but you combine the power of a good like backend structure with Python, but a good front-end structure with JavaScript to create something dynamically. Cool. I have 5 minutes, more or less. Let's go to the last part. This is the example that I showed you before. I already told a little bit about this. The idea is like how I can decompose my images in some concepts, and these concepts are not like are completely. I think this one was created with Clip, but just in like you send this function and you get what are the components more relevant in your image, and then you can analyze if maybe your model has some bias, and just in like you are training a model to detect a kind of plate, but when you take the pictures in that specific location, you don't realize that always in that plate there was an object, and you think that was normal, but actually that object is not normal. It's like edge cases, but it's hard to understand what the model is seeing, what the model is doing, and this specific plugin allow you to find that, like find what objects in or components in your system maybe are not directly aligned to the class that you are predicting. That is nice. Okay, 3 minutes to show you MCP and skills, and then I'm gonna go to questions. I saw like a couple of questions. I don't know if it's for me, but I'm gonna check it in a bit. As you can see here, we have structures. Like we have multiple structures that you can automate. Agents are moving super fast. In 51, we believe in agents. We think that we can accelerate multiple processes when you use agents. And you have to, of course, have some like guidelines and good practice. That is why we create MCP and skills. The MCP allows you to perform tasks in 51, like let's load this data set. And depends of the agent that you use, Cloud Code, Gemini CLI, talking about IDEs, you can load this data set in 51. And it's pretty nice because it's using these resources. But the 51 skills, it's more about what is the instructions that you have to follow to be able to perform a task. Let's say that you want to do inference. But to do inference, you have to define first which model are you going to use, which data set are you going to like to the inference, what configuration you are going to do. And you can create a skill that allows the agent to follow what is the good practice to be able to do that task in a sequence of steps in a Markdown. Like MCP is code. 51 skills, it's only Markdown files with instructions. But the agent can use that to perform tasks. And I'm just gonna show you one example here, and I'm gonna leave one couple of GIF or links if you want to explore this, but you can, maybe it's small, like I can share it later, but you can, I am installing everything here. I am installing the skills. I go to Visual Studio Code with Cloud Code, and then I check which plugins do I have available. I can check that I have 51 plugins available, all of these things. And then here. And then I just ask the model, okay, let's, where is that? Let's, I just ask the model, okay, can you load the data set from here? Can you load this data set that is in local, maybe your data set, to 51 and run a YOLO version 8 model? And it read the skill and it find that, okay, I need to do multiple tasks. First, I need to go to the data set, read which file do we have there, read if we have labels, check, like upload this to 51. Then I have to check the images, the samples. Then I have to check which model do I have available. Then I have to run an operator. You already know what is an operator. If you run an operator of YOLO, then save the prediction and show the prediction here. Just one skill that allows you to do inference in a couple of seconds. And it's a new way as well to do it. But the one that I want to talk, that I don't have the video here, it's we have a skill to develop plugins. It's like all the things that I say today, you can do it with a skill. Of course, not only do it and that is all, you have to start to checking that the Adonai was able as well to create the function that I mentioned today and all of this configuration. This is the link if you want to explore more. We are going to share at the end in the resources. Don't worry for that. And this is if you want to integrate your model, you think that maybe could be good for you to put it in the ecosystem and the people can use it from enterprise companies like open source users as well. Scan this QR code if you need help. Like if you want to do it yourself, it's fine. But if you need help, I can connect with you. I can help you to how to create it and all of these things together. Next steps, our docs is the best place that you can go to explore more about us. Join the Discord channels. Of course, put a star in 51 if you like the project. Yeah, all of these links I think are already in the chat. Yeah, I think that's all. I'm gonna try to answer all the questions. I know that I spent like 2 minutes more, but more than happy to answer questions.